Okay, so we are reading Canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. We are now on chapter 27. Attacked by Chandaveg and the city of King Puranjana, the character of Kala Kanya. So this is stage of old age. I think we've been many years together, right? We are right now in stage of old age. So let's see what Bhagavatam says about it. So together we'll read. Narada uvacha itam puranjanam sadrya vishamaniya vibrame puranjani maharaja reme ramayati patim.
Translation. The great sage Narad continued, My dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, the wife of King Puranjan gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed sex life with him.
Yeah, there's, actually these purports are very long and very much detailed. So we have to be a little patient to read through all this. Okay.
Shall I read?
Yeah, read.
Purport. After hunting in the forest, King Puranjan returned home, and after refreshing himself by taking a bath and eating nice food, he searched for his wife. When he saw her lying down on the ground without a bed, as if neglected and devoid of any proper rest, he became very much aggrieved. He then became attracted to her and began to enjoy her company. A living entity similarly engaged in the material world in sinful activities. These sinful activities may be compared to King Puranjan's hunting in the forest. A sinful life can be counteracted by various processes of religion such as yajna, vrata and dana. That is a performance of sacrifice, the taking of a vow for some religious ritual and the giving of charity. In this way one may become free from the reaction of sinful life and at the same time awaken his original Krishna consciousness. By coming home, taking his bath, eating nice foodstuff, getting refreshed and searching out his wife, King Puranjan came to his good consciousness in his family life. In other words, a systematic family life is enjoined in the Vedas is better than irresponsible sinful life. If a husband and wife combine together in Krishna consciousness and live together peacefully, that is very nice. However, if a husband becomes too much attracted by his wife and forgets his duty in life, the implication of materialistic life will again resume. Sri Rupa Goswami has therefore recommended Anasakta Vishayan Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. Without being attached by sex, husband and wife may live together for the advancement of spiritual life. The husband should engage in devotional service and the wife should be faithful and religious according to the Vedic injunction. Such a combination is very good. However, if a husband becomes too much attracted to the wife due to sex, the position becomes very dangerous. Women in general are very much sexually inclined. Indeed, it is said that a woman's sex desire is 9 times stronger than a man's. It is therefore man's duty to keep a woman under his control by satisfying her, giving her ornaments, nice food and clothes and engaging her in religious activities. Of course, a woman should have a few children and in this way not be disturbing to the man. Unfortunately, if the man becomes attracted to the woman simply for sex enjoyment, then family life becomes abominable.
Okay, so this is what we already know, all right? Everybody knows this, so there's no need to go into detail, all right? Right?
The great politician Chanakya Pandit has said, Bhare Rupavati Shatru, a beautiful wife is an enemy. Of course, every woman in the eyes of her husband is very beautiful. Others may see her as not very beautiful, but the husband, being very much attracted to her, sees her always as very beautiful. If the husband sees the wife as very beautiful, it is to be assumed that he is too much attracted to her. This attraction is the attraction of sex. The whole world is captivated by the two modes of material nature, Rajagun and Tamagun, passion and ignorance. Generally, women are very much passionate and are less intelligent. Therefore, somehow or the other, a man should not be under the control of their passion and ignorance. By performing bhakti yoga devotional service, a man can be raised to the platform of goodness. If a husband situated in the mode of goodness can control his wife, who is in passion and ignorance, the woman is benefited. Forgetting her nature inclination for passion and ignorance, the woman becomes obedient and faithful to her husband, who is situated in goodness. Such a life becomes very welcome. The intelligence of the man and woman may then work very nicely together, and they can make a progressive march towards spiritual realization. Otherwise, the husband coming under the control of the wife sacrifices his quality of goodness and becomes subservient to the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this way, the whole situation becomes polluted. The conclusion is that a household life is better than a sinful life devoid of responsibility. But if the household life, the husband becomes subordinate to the wife, involvement in materialistic life again becomes prominent. In this, a man's material bondage becomes enhanced. Because of this, according to the Vedic system, after a certain age, a man is recommended to abandon his family for the stages of Vanprastha and Sannyas.
Yeah, so this is the story of Puranjan, and we read that actually Puranjan, he is a great soul, right? He's very intellectual, he's got all good qualities, and he's even an initiated person. Right, last week we read that he's an initiated person, and so meaning he's in satsanga, he's everything, but then suddenly here that neophyte who again starts do all types of due to overeating. Actually, we read last week that overeating, then the senses get agitated, and again we fall down into sense gratification. So here, something very interesting, just yesterday somebody was giving class, Bhagavatam class. So he was saying how, this divorce rate is so much increasing, saying in every second house today it's like separation. And the whole problem is who will control who, right? Husband want to control wife, wife want to control the husband, right? And then the entire family. So here, very, very, in very simple terms, Prabhupada is explaining that both man and woman can progress. So if woman is in mode of passion and ignorance, if the husband also come down to passion and ignorance, then everybody is the loser, right? So therefore Prabhupada is saying that the husband should be trained through bhakti yoga, how to raise to the platform of sattva. This is the secret. So especially in Kali Yuga, everybody is in Rajogun and Tamogun. But that's why, especially from childhood, when we are trained, how to move from one level to the, how to move, from one stage, one level of, from the one guna to the next. Tamogun, Rajogun, and to sattva. So this is through the practice of bhakti yoga, the way Prabhupada has given us. Chanting, hearing, and archanam, all the festivals. Here Prabhupada spoke also yagya, vrata, and dana. So these cannot be abandoned by anybody. So this is the point here. So I think this is very interesting because otherwise, it's like the tussle between husband and wife is just going on. Meaning that husband has to take the superior position. How? Sorry? Yeah, so what will happen to him? He has to raise to the platform of sattva gun. Krishna consciousness is very high, all right? But the method, Okay? The method of Krishna consciousness will make the person rise to the platform of Sattva Gun. Alright? So when it comes to Sattva Gun, like I remember Bhakti Swami, this question is always asking, and he just said, if the man is third class or fourth class, then the woman doesn't respect. Right? So if the husband is in Sattva Gun, then he's able to raise the wife to Sattva Guna also. So the intelligence of the man and woman may then work very nicely together. So it's not that woman has no intelligence, but she loses it when she's just in Rajogun and Tamagun, right? So her intelligence becomes strong when she's pulled to Sattva Gun. So that's a very, very important point. So because in India also the men are losing this Sattva Gun, therefore the women are falling down. You can directly say this. It's the AC, right? Just go tell them to switch it off. Just only open the door very, without noise. Yeah, it is the AC. I know that. That's why we don't put on the AC. Yeah. So, see, one has to be stronger than the other. One has to be stronger than the other. If the woman is stronger, she has a tendency towards rajas and tamas, so she will drag the husband into materialistic life. So, well, in these days, the women are more sadvik than the husband, right? Right? So I remember Radha Govind Maharaj. He said, where are the husbands? I remember he said, the ladies are coming for Diksha, right? He said, but where are the husbands, right? Then you have to pull the husband also. Anyway, so this is the Kali Yuga. So text 2. Saraja Mahishim Rajan Shushnatam Ruchirananam Krita Swasyayanam Triptam Abhyananda Rupagatan. Devahuti, you read?
Translation. The queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion. Purport. A woman is generally accustomed to dress herself nicely with fine garments and decorative ornaments. She may even sometimes wear flowers in her hair. Women specially dress themselves up in the evening because the husband comes home in the evening after working hard all day. It is the duty of the wife to dress herself up very nicely so that when her husband returns home, he becomes attracted by her dress and cleanliness and thus becomes satisfied. In other words, the wife is the inspiration of all good intelligence. Upon seeing one's wife dressed nicely, one can think very soberly about family business. When a person is too anxious about family affairs, he cannot discharge his family duties nicely. A wife is therefore supposed to be an inspiration and should keep the husband's intelligence in good order so that they can combinedly prosecute the affairs of family life without impediment.
Okay, so these are details about the woman. Text 3. Taya pagudha parirabdha kandharo raho numantre apakrisya chetanaha nakararamho bubudhe duratyayam diva nisheti pramada parigraha. You read? Can you read? It's in Hindi. No, I won't be able to follow. Read, Shashi. Shashi, can you take this mic? Just check whether it's on. Put it on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, yeah.
Hare Krishna. Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed choking words. Thus, King Puranjan became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit. The word Praman in these words is very significant. A beautiful wife is certainly enlivening to her husband, but at the same time is the cause of degradation. The word Praman means enlivening as well as maddening. Generally, a householder does not take the passing of days and nights very seriously. A person in ignorance take it as the usual course that days come, and after the days, the night comes. This is the law of material nature. But a man in ignorance does not know that when the sun rises early in the morning, it begins to take away the balance of his life. Thus, day after day, the span of one's life is reduced, and forgetting the duty of human life, the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife and enjoys in a secluded place. Such a condition is called apakarshita chetana or degraded consciousness. Human consciousness should be used for elevation to Krishna consciousness. But when a person is too much attracted to his wife and family affairs, he does not take Krishna consciousness very seriously. He thus becomes degraded, not knowing that he cannot buy back even a second of his life in return for millions of dollars. The greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Every moment of a life should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service to the Lord. Without devotional service to the Lord, the activities of life become simply a waste of time. Shrama Ivahi Kevala. Simply by becoming dutiful, we do not make any profit in life. As conferred with Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8, Dharma Smanskrita Pumsham Vishwa Sena Kathasuya Note Padyadi Yadi Ratim Rama Ivahi Kevalam. If after performing one's occupational duty very perfectly, one does not make progress in Krishna consciousness, it should be understood that he has simply wasted his life in valueless labor.
So pramada means enlivening or make one mad. So this, this is like so real, what Prabhupada is describing here. The days going by one, just passing, and we are not thinking about it. So meaning this is the person in the mode of ignorance, doesn't even bother that day and night is coming. We just say, okay, now what's the time? Then go to sleep. Then again we wake up. We don't even think that one day is gone, and meaning that one day of my life is gone. Right? Only when suddenly something happens to the body, then we see what's going on, right? That's how we deal. And here, so every moment of our life should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service to the Lord. Without devotional service to the Lord, the activities of life become simply a waste of time. Shrama evahi kevala, meaning that whatever we may have done throughout our life, if we haven't made any progress in Krishna consciousness, then this is simply a valueless labor. So, so measure everything, how we are spending our life. And remember that this King Puranjan is an initiated devotee, all right? Who falls back into materialistic life. So, very, very real. I mean, I found this really real. How, from enthusiasm, some sentiment, you say, yes, I'm devotee, you come, take association of devotees, take the japamala, take diksha, everything, and then we just do some mistakes, right? And the main mistake is that voracious eating. This is what we read last week. Due to that, all the senses get agitated. So therefore, that austerity is very much required. So text 4. And Prabhupada said, this voracious eating is even prasadam. That's the worst part of it. He says, okay, it's prasadam. Prabhupada said, writing there, even the prasadam, voracious eating, cause some disturbance of the senses. So Prabhupada said the so-called brahmachari becomes attracted by sex desire, and the vanaprastha goes back to his wife, or he seeks another woman. All right? So don't forget this. I mean, this is how difficult it is to actually progress in Krishna consciousness. It's like taking diksha, something is like just newly married, right? 6 months, 1 year, 4 years, 5 years, then okay, now what is all this? I should be allowed to do this. I mean, we see it everywhere, isn't it? So to maintain the Krishna consciousness, to continue to progress, it's a continuous effort, right? So this is the story that is being described to us here through Puranjan, meaning this King Prachena Barhishat, right, who is a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj, who is a pure devotee. So let's, not forget that who is being described here is the path of a devotee, neophyte. Text 4. Shayana Nanunmadhamado Mahamana Maharhatalpe Mahishi Bhujopadhi Tameva Viro Manute Param Yatas Tamo Vibhuto Nanijam Param Jayat. You'll take the mic so that you're loud.
In this way, increasingly overwhelmed by delusion, King Puranjana, although advanced in consciousness, remained always lying down with his head on the pillow of his wife's arm. In this way, he considered women to be his ultimate life and soul. Becoming thus overwhelmed by the mode of ignorance, he could not understand the meaning of self-realization, of his self, or of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Human life is meant for self-realization. First of all, one has to realize his own self, which is described in this work as Nijam. Then he has to understand or realize the super soul of Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, when one becomes too much materially attached, he takes a woman to be everything. This is the basic principle of material attachment. In such a condition, one cannot realize his own self or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2, it is therefore said, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangha. If one associates with Mahatmas or devotees, his path of liberation is open. But if one becomes too much attached to women or to persons who are also attached to women, that is, attached to women directly or indirectly, he opens the Tamo Dwaram, the door to the darkest region of hellish life. King Puranjana was a great soul. highly intellectual and possessed of advanced consciousness. But due to his being too much addicted to women, his whole consciousness was covered. In the modern age, the consciousness of people is too much covered by wine, women, and flesh. Consequently, people are completely unable to make any progress in self-realization. The first step of self-realization is to know oneself as spirit soul, apart from the body. In the second stage of self-realization, one comes to know that every soul, every individual living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.7. Mama eva amshu jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasastani indriyani prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Yes. Yeah, 1 minute. So here, so in the second paragraph, here this is about self-realization. So the first point of self-realization means to know we are not the body, but we are the soul. And second step in self-realization, second stage, to know that every jeev is part and parcel of the Supreme. So meaning to realize the super soul. And here, see, King Puranjan was a great soul, highly intellectual and possessed of advanced consciousness. Alright? But due to his being too much addicted to women, his whole consciousness was covered. So that's what happened to him now. Yeah, go on.
All living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, in this present civilization, both men and women are allowed to be attracted to one another from the very beginning of life. And because of this, they are completely unable to come to the platform of self-realization. They do not know that without self-realization, they suffer the greatest loss in the human form of life. Thinking of a woman always, without one's heart, is tantamount to lying down with a woman on a valuable bedstead. The heart is the bedstead, and it is the most valuable bedstead. When a man thinks of a woman and money, he lies down and rests on the arms of his beloved woman or wife. In this way, he overindulges in sex life and thus becomes unfit for self-realization.
So this is so Prabhupada is speaking here about that's the brahmachari stage, right? So when this is missed, because the brahmachari will stay in the gurukul, so they don't mix with girls. So when they grow up at the age, I think 20, 21, then they leave the gurukul, so they haven't had contact with girls, right? So meaning they're trained not to think of women, and similarly the girl will be in the parents' house, kept very protected, so they're not mixing with boys. So then when they get married, they're able to control their senses, and with all the instruction that has been given by guru and by the parents, the girl's parents. But now Prabhupada is saying that they are so, from the very beginning of life, they are just mixing, right? So therefore, how you control this? Text 5. Tayevam ramamanasya kamakashmalacetasaha shanadham iva rajendra yatikrantam navam vayaha. Who will read? Anita?
Translation.
Can you put off the AC? The AC, can you put it off? Yeah.
In this way, King Puranjana, with his wife, heart full of lust and sinful reactions, began to enjoy sex with his wife, and in this way, his new life and youth expired in half a moment.
Okay, now this is a very big purport. and it's going to explain, how the lifespan is divided. So here it's about youth, right? What is youth? Can you read? Okay, let's read this, sing this together. You know this song, right? Idhana yobana putra parijana iti ke ache parati tire kamala dala jala jivana talamala bhajahu hari pada nitire mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Yes, read.
In this verse, Srila Govinda Das actually says that there is no bliss in the enjoyment of youthful life. In youth, a person becomes very lusty to enjoy all kinds of subjects. The sense objects are form, taste, smell, touch, and sound. The modern scientific
Method.
Modern scientific method.
Can you put the mic forward,
Advancement of scientific civilization.
We can't hear you, yes. Yeah.
Scientific civilization encourage the enjoyment of these five senses. The younger generation is very pleased to see a beautiful form, to hear radio messages of material news.
Now WhatsApp messages, right? Internet messages. Prabhupada's time it was only radio.
No TV either.
Yeah. Oh well, TV I guess was there.
And sense gratificatory songs, to smell nice scents, nice flowers, and to touch the soft body or breast of a young woman, and gradually touch the sex organs. All of this also very pleasing to the animals. Therefore, in human society, there are restrictions in the enjoyment of the five sense objects. If one does not follow, he becomes exactly like an animal.
This is very gross, right? Right.
Thus, in this verse, it is specifically stated Kam Kashmala Chetasaha.
Okay, so now just focus on this word, Kama Kashmala Chetasaha. Kashmala means dirt, alright? The Chetasa meaning the mind, Chitta, has become contaminated with lust.
The consciousness of King Puranjana was polluted by lusty desires and sinful activities. In the previous verse, it is stated the Puranjana, although advanced in consciousness, lay down on a very soft bed with his wife. This indicates that he indulged too much in sex. The words Snavam Viha are also significant in this verse. They indicate the period of youth from age of 16 to 30. These 13 or 15 years of life are years in which one can very strongly enjoy the senses. When one becomes to this age, he thinks the life will go on, and that he will simply continue enjoying his senses. But time and tide wait for no man. The span of youth expires very quickly. One who wastes his life simply by committing sinful activities in youth immediately becomes disappointed and disillusioned when the brief period of youth is over. The material enjoyment of youth are especially pleasing to a person who has no spiritual training. If one is trained only according to the bodily conception of life, he simply leads a disappointed life because bodily sense enjoyment finishes within 40 years or so. After 40 years, one simply leads a disillusioned life because he has no spiritual knowledge. For such a person, the expiration of youth occurs in half a moment. Thus, King Puranjana's pleasure, which he took in lying down with his wife, expired very quickly.
Okay, so now we've got a, like a division of life, right? So between age 16 to 30, this is called youth. right? And the peak of youth for a girl is 16, is it? So 16 to 30. And this, so we enjoy the senses, but then suddenly, after the age of 30, then things start to get little bad. And by the age of 40, right? Age of 40, I think all of us are above 40, right? So we know what happened after the age of 40. You lose your bodily strength. So many things happen. So we don't want to speak of what, when you're 60, what it means. We never thought we'll be 60, right? We actually never thought we'll be 60. So very, very fast life went by. Yeah, go on.
Kama Kasmala Chetasana also indicates that unrestricted sense enjoyment is not allowed in the human form of life by the laws of nature. If one enjoys their senses unrestrictedly, he leads to a sinful life. The animals do not violate this law of nature. For example, the sex impulse in animal is very strong during certain months of the year. The lion is very powerful. He is a flesh eater and very strong, but he enjoys sex only once in a year. Similarly, according to religious instruction, a man is restricted to enjoy sex only once in a month after the menstrual period of wife, and if the wife is pregnant, he is not allowed sex life at all. That is the law of human beings. A man is allowed to keep more than one wife because he cannot enjoy sex when the wife is pregnant. If he wants to enjoy sex at such time, he may go to another wife who is not that pregnant. These are laws mentioned in the Manu Samhita and other scriptures.
Okay, so now here we find that sex life is already is restricted by the laws of material nature. And we found that in animal kingdom, it's automatic, right? And here with the human beings, it's like you have to think about it. So there are the laws of Manu that's been given. So the law is given that only for procreation. All right? So therefore, the husband is allowed to have more than one wife. It's allowed. This is the meaning that this is the laws of Manu Samhita. And then if he doesn't follow this way, then what happens? Let's read what happens. This is the
laws and scriptures are meant for human beings. As such, as if one violates the laws, he becomes sinful. The conclusion is that artistic sense enjoyment unrestricted sense enjoyment means sinful activities. Illicit sex is sex that violates the laws given in the scriptures. When one violates the laws of the scriptures or the Vedas, he commits sinful activities. One who is engaged in sinful activities cannot change his consciousness. Our real function is to change our consciousness from Kasmala, sinful consciousness, to Krishna, the supreme, pure, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Krishna is the supreme pure, and if we change our consciousness from material enjoyment to Krishna, we become purified. This is the process recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the process of Chetu Darpana Marijanam cleans the mirror of the heart.
So this is the first point here, that if we do not follow the laws given by Manu Samhita, then it means that we are violating those laws. All right? So violation of a law is called sinful, right? So we do sinful, meaning forbidden activities. So we've disobeyed. We've disobeyed the laws of Manu Samhita for human beings, right? Because human beings are having the choice. Whereas with animals, it's already programmed in their body. They can't do it, right? So with human beings, it's like there's freedom, but then the laws are given which restrict us. So now, if we, even though it's so funny, it's like you've been given the choice, right? But if you do the wrong choice, then there is the law of nature. All right. So now, Prabhupada is explaining that one who is engaged in sinful activities, so why is it that so strict about these laws? That we should control the senses, restrict the senses willingly. He had seen human being, it is willingly. Yes. Yes, because see, animals, there's no question of progress, right? But with human beings, so if we obey those restrictions, then we can change our consciousness. So our real function is to change our consciousness from Kashmalam, sinful consciousness, to Krishna, the Supreme Pure. All right. So why is it that Krishna can change our consciousness according to this? Why is it that? Here, Prabhupada. Why is it that if we say here, our real function is to change our consciousness from Kashmala, sinful consciousness, to Krishna. Why to Krishna, not why to,
That's pure.
Yes. Because Krishna is the Supreme Pure. Therefore, what does Krishna do to our consciousness? Make our consciousness pure. We understand this? Because Krishna is Pavitram Paramam. Alright? He is the Supreme Pure. Krishna is the Supreme Pure, and if we change our consciousness from material enjoyment to Krishna, so we project our material, our mind, which is material, impure, Kashmala, or consciousness, if we project towards Krishna, but because Krishna is the Supreme Pure, He will purify that consciousness. That's why we are chanting, that's why we are reading, we are remembering, we are doing the puja, everything that we are doing in Bhakti Yoga. Is it clear? Why Krishna, Krishna, Krishna? Why not something else or somebody else? Because Krishna is the Supreme Pure. Pavitram Param. You will remember this? Anybody ask you, why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Why Krishna only?
Krishna is the Supreme Pure.
Yes. And where is it stated?
In the Srimad, no.
Bhagavad Gita?
Chapter 10 chapter, Arjun speaks.
11, is it? Oh, is it 10 or 11?
Chapter 10.13.
10.13. Oh, okay. All right. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Yeah. Yes. All right. So because Krishna is the Supreme Pure, that's why. So the proof that He is the Supreme Pure is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 13. Noted? All right. Why we are chanting Hare Krishna? Okay. So if we associate with an object that is supreme pure, just like soap, right? You put soap on your cloth, the cloth becomes clean, right? So the purifying agent is Krishna. Purify our consciousness, which is Kashmala. Yes. Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. So we have to clean our heart by chanting Hare Krishna. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Text 6. तस्यामजनयत् पुत्रान् पुरञ्जन्यं पुरञ्जनः शतानिकदिशवीरात् आयुषोर्धम् अथात्यगात्.
Translation. The great Saint Narada then addressed King Pratinabhaji, O one whose lifespan is great, Virat. In this way, King Puranjana begot 1100 sons within the womb of his wife, Puranjani. However, in this business, he passed away half of his lifespan. In this verse, there are several significant words, the first of which are Ekadasha Satani. Puranjana had begotten 1100 sons within the womb of his wife, and thus passed away half of his life. Actually, every man follows a similar process. If one lives for 100 years at the utmost, in his family life, he simply begets children up to the age of 50. Unfortunately, at the present moment, people do not live even 100 years. Nonetheless, they beget children up to the age of 60. Another point is that formerly people used to beget 100 to 200 sons and daughters, as will be evident from the next verse. King Puranjana not only begot 1100 sons but also 110 daughters. At the present moment, no one can produce such huge quantities of children. Instead, mankind is very busy checking the increase of population by contraceptive methods. We do not find in Vedic literatures that they ever used contraceptive methods, although they were begetting hundreds of children. Checking population by contraceptive method is another simple activity. But in this age of Kali, people have become so simple that they do not care for the resultant reactions of their simple lives. King Puranjana lay down with his wife, Puranjani, and begot a large number of children, and there is no mention in these verses that he used contraceptive methods. According to the Vedic scriptures, the contraceptive method should be restrained in sex life. It is not that one should indulge in unrestricted sex life and avoid children by using some method to check pregnancy. If a man is in good consciousness, he consults with his religious wife, and as a result of his consultation with intelligence, one advances in his ability to estimate the value of life. In other words, if one is fortunate enough to have a good conscientious wife, he can decide by mutual consultation that human life is meant for advancing in Krishna consciousness and not for begetting a large number of children. Children are called parinam or byproducts, and when one consults his good intelligence, he can see that his byproduct should be the expansion of his Krishna consciousness.
Okay, you know, Prabhupada is giving on two levels. One is like the sense gratifier, right? And then he's pulling everything, you know, how to be Krishna conscious. So here, so this King Puranjana, with his wife Puranjani, right? I mean, she got the name. Puranjanyam, right? Puranjanyam, Puranjanaha. Okay, so the male and female. So what did they do? They produced so many children. So his lifespan was Virat, was very long. So he got so many children. He produced 1100 boys and 110 daughters. And Prabhupada is saying they didn't use contraceptive, meaning they allowed the children to be born. Then he said, how do you stop producing children? How?
Consultation with the religious life.
Yes. How? What is the natural contraceptive method? Yes. Right. Yeah. Saying that it is by restrain, right? Where is it? Yeah, restraint, mind and sense control, right? This is how, I remember when I was in school, you know, my economic teacher, and I was never an economic student, I was a science student, but somehow this one teacher, I guess he was replacing or something, so he was speaking of all this and say, so how do you check the number of children? He says, moral restraint. Even an economic teacher, plain and simple. So here Prabhupada is saying the same thing, meaning that was well known. It was well known that how do you restrict the number of children? It's not by contraceptive, but it is by restraint. Okay. So now Prabhupada is saying that, so how will this happen? Only when the man is in good consciousness and the woman also is in good consciousness. Then by mutual consultation, they say, no, it's a waste of time to have so many thousands of children, right? This is best we use our time for expansion of Krishna consciousness. So children are called parinam, the result of my sense gratification, byproducts, parinam. And when one consults his good intelligence, he can see that his byproduct should be the expansion of his Krishna consciousness. Text 7. Duhitri dashottara shatam pitrimatri yashaskarihi shilaudarya gunopeta pauranjanya prajapate. Okay, so now this is about this Varna Sankara. So the characteristic of Varna Sankara population is that they're irresponsible to the family, to the community, and even to themselves. Right? This is today. Right? The children are irresponsible. They don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of their family, and they don't care anything about the community. So this is a symptom that this is Varna Sankara, that they are not good children. So when there is proper Garbhadan Samskar, then it is expected, so meaning that the father and mother themselves are good, and therefore the children also become good.
Even though we will produce many good children, a desire for sex that is beyond the prescribed method is to be considered sinful. Too much enjoyment of any of the senses, not only sex, results in sinful activities. Therefore, one has to become a Swami or Goswami at the end of his life. One may beget children up to the age of 50, but after 50, one must stop begetting children and should accept the Vamsha Swami. In this way, he must leave home and then become a sannyasi. A sannyasi's title is Swami or Goswami, which means that he completely refrains from sense enjoyment. One should not accept the sannyas order whimsically. He must be fully confident that he can restrain his desires for sense gratification. King Puranjana's family life was of course very happy. As mentioned in these verses, he begot 1100 sons and 110 daughters. Everyone desires to have more sons than daughters, and since the number of daughters was less than the number of sons, it appears that King Puranjana's family life was very comfortable and pleasing.
Okay, so now, even though it's good to have good children, but even then, to have too many children, meaning sense gratification, becomes sinful. Just see, it's like you can't escape it. Good children, okay, fine, but then too much, it is sinful. So, therefore again comes this point about being a sannyasi. So it's like you're forced by the Vedic system. Husband and wife, they're forced to live the family life. Because why? Any reason why? It's abhigachet, it says, must live separately, must. Why? Yes, must leave home. Previous purport also Prabhupada said, must. Why? Hmm?
Completely refrains from sense enjoyment.
Yes, so here, why is it that there's this imposition, that up the age of 50, there has to be vanaprast. Why?
You might get to be attracted to your wife. So if you stay far away, then at least there is some kind of, there is an imposed restriction.
Yes, just like you will read a little later, I think the next verse, like he said that in the Vedic system, everyone must get married. Right? Why? Yes, and otherwise they will engage in illicit sex, right? Right? So similarly, after the age of 50, it is an injunction that we must take vanaprast. Because if we don't take vanaprast, we'll just continue being dragged into family life. Right? And sense gratification. So that's why the rules were like this. Must. Text 8. Sapanchalapati putran pitrivamsha vivardhanan dare samyojayam asa duhitri sadrisher varehe. Yes.
Translation by Divine Vishnu Prabhupada. After this King Puranjan, king of Panchal country, in order to increase the descendants of his paternal family, married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughters with qualified husbands. According to the Vedic system, everyone should marry. One has to accept a wife because a wife will produce children, and the children in their turn will offer foodstuffs and funeral ceremonies so that the forefathers, wherever they may live, will be made happy. The offering of oblations in the name of Lord Vishnu is called Pindo Daka, and it is necessary that the descendants of the family offer Pinda to the forefathers.
Okay, so the reason why why there is this, they must marry because of Pinda, yes. Yeah, Pinda, right? Because we don't know where, what accident may happen. So the children has to send a helping hand. Right? Yes.
Not only was Puranjan, the king of Panchal, satisfied his own sex life, but he arranged for the sex life of his 1100 sons and 110 daughters. In this way, one can elevate an aristocratic family to the platform of a dynasty. It is significant in this world that the Puranjana got both sons and daughters married. It is a duty of father and mother to arrange for the marriage of their sons and daughters. That is the obligation in the Vedic society. Sons and daughters should not be allowed freedom to intermingle with the opposite sex unless they are married. This Vedic social organization is very good in that it stops the promulgation of illicit sex life or Varna Shankara, which appears under different names in this present day. Unfortunately, in this age, although the father and mother are anxious to get their children married, the children refuse to get married by the arrangement of the parents. Consequently, the number of Varnashankara has increased throughout the world under different names.
This is today's news, right? Text 9. Yeah.
But does this mean that in this way one can elevate an aristocratic family to the platform of a dynasty?
Yeah, meaning that we increase, go on increasing the number of population. Anyway, because they have so many children, right? So it become a dynasty completely.
But then it is also a responsibility that if you give birth, then you have to get them married as well.
Yeah, so that's why getting completely entangled. Text 9. Putranam cha bhavam putra ekekasya shatam shatam yerve poranjano vamshaha panchaleshu samedhitaha. You know, actually we can compare this whole section with what we were reading before, Devahuti and all this. It's like, this is really like gross, what we are reading now. Like it all started with Sati and Shiva, the whole disaster and that yagya. It's getting from bad to worse, right? It's just ordinary karmi life that's being described here. And elevated Devahuti and Kardama Muni and Kapila Muni. Now I understand why these professional reciters, Bhagavatam, they never read this, right?
They never read all this.
Right? They will read only the Leela, what is nice, what is pleasing to the ears, and they won't tell people the real truth of Bhagavatam, right?
Translation. Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by these sons and grandsons of King Puranjana. Purport. We must remember that Puranjana is the living entity, and the city Panchala is the body. The body is the field of activity for the living entity, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra Kshetrajna. There are two constituents. One is the living entity, Kshetrajna, and the other is the body of the living entity, Kshetra. Any living entity can know that he is covered by the body if he only contemplates the body a little bit. Just with a little contemplation, he can come to understand that the body is his possession. One can understand this by practical experience and by the authority of the Shastras. In Bhagavad Gita 2.13, it is said, Dehinosmin yatha dehi. The proprietor of the body, the soul, is within the body. The body is taken as the Panchala Desh, or the field of activities, wherein the living entity can enjoy the senses in their relationship to the five sense objects, namely Gandha, Rasa, Rupa, Sparsha and Shabda, that is, sense objects made out of earth, water, fire, air and sky. Within this material world, covered by the material body of subtle and gross matter, every living entity creates actions and reactions, which are herein known allegorically as sons and grandsons. There are two kinds of actions and reactions, namely pious and impious. In this way, our material existence becomes coated by different actions and reactions. In this regard, Sri Narottam Das Thakur states, Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Keval Visher Bhanda, Amrita Bolia, Jeba Koya, Nana Yoni Shada Fire, Kodarya Bhakshane Kore, Tar Janmo Adha Pate Jaya. Fruitive activities and mental speculations are simply cups of poison. Whoever drinks of them, thinking them to be nectar, must struggle very hard life after life in different types of bodies. Such a person eats all kinds of nonsense and becomes condemned by his activities of so-called sense enjoyment.
Yeah, so now this is, who are these sons, grandson, great-grandson, what are all this?
The activities.
Yeah,
actions.
action and reaction. I just heard now Prabhupada's one lecture. So he was saying that, anyway, that's going to come next also. So he was saying that there should be cooperation, among, how the world can go on smoothly. So he said that there should be cooperation, there should be understanding. And then he said one thing, said even within our own society, meaning within ISKCON itself. So he said that if we do not like cooperate among ourselves, then the organization will disintegrate. And then he said something very important. He said there may be mistakes. All right? So there may be mistakes, but so he said there may be mistakes because this is a material world. Everybody makes mistake in the material world. He says, but you should just go in the temple, sit down and chant, and get back, your calmness, get back your senses, So this material world is so complicated with all these actions and reaction. You cannot trace why suddenly you get into conflict with somebody and why something happens, right? With your own dear and near ones, right? You suddenly get into conflict with them. So Prabhupada is just saying this is the material world. So this secret is very, very important here. Like I just read, just before I came on Facebook, I think I read Indradumna Swami, right? I just read something like, actually we're just saying Ukraine and Russia, they're fighting, but we've got devotees on both sides, So whose side are you going to take? Both sides are your own people, right? Devotees. So Maharaj was making this point, his disciples are both from Russia and Ukraine, and he's the guru, right? And the politics of fighting, poor him, he is getting, who's right, who's wrong, right? He said, my duty is to take you back home, back to Godhead. My duty is not to get into politics between Russia and Ukraine, right? And then he said this same thing here, that the intricacies of karma are very, very difficult to understand. Therefore, if we find that something has gone wrong in our life, and usually what goes wrong in our life is inflicted upon us by our own people, right? It's very rare that somebody outside does something wrong to you, right? So you cannot understand what's all this. So here we are. So karmakan, jnanakan, kevala vishara bhanda. This is all cups of poison. And we say, yes, let us do this, let us do that. Thinking it's nectar, but finally they're producing only different types of bodies, right? Different types of bodies. Yeah, go on now, just listen to this part.
Thus, the field of actions and reactions by which one's descendants are increased begins with sex life. Puranjana increased his whole family by begetting sons who in their turn begot grandsons. Thus, the living entity, being inclined towards sexual gratification, becomes involved in many hundreds and thousands of actions and reactions. In this way, he remains within the material world simply for the purpose of sense gratification and transmigrates from one body to another. His process of reproducing so many sons and grandsons results in so-called societies, nations, communities, and so on. All these communities, societies, dynasties, and nations simply expand from sex life. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Yan Methunadi Grihamedi Sukham Hi Tucham. A Grihamedi is the one who wants to remain within the material existence. This means that he wants to remain within this body or society and enjoy friendship, love, and community. His only enjoyment is in increasing the number of sex enjoyers. He enjoys sex and produces children, who in their turn marry and produce grandchildren. The grandchildren also marry and in their turn produce great-grandchildren. In this way, the entire earth becomes overpopulated, and then suddenly there are reactions provoked by material nature in the form of war, famine, pestilence, and earthquakes, etc. Thus, the entire population is again extinguished, simply to be recreated. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 8.19 as as repeated creation and annihilation. Bhutva praliyate. Due to lack of Krishna consciousness, all this creation and annihilation is going on under the name of human civilization. This cycle continues due to man's lack of knowledge of the soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so here you find see what Prabhupada is saying, right? You go on producing your population of Varna Sankara, right? Go on producing, and then one day what happens? Material nature revolves, right? And that's exactly what we are living through, right? Suddenly, can you imagine what happened? The whole world shut down for 2 years, right? The entire world shut down, and everybody was screaming that material nature is revolting, right? That was the slogan everywhere. Material nature is revolting. And now you see, this is over. We thought it's over. How is over? A war starts. And now the war is on, and then the other parts of the country, of the world, what's going on? Heavy economic crisis. Right? Everywhere. It's not only Sri Lanka. It's everywhere. Which is heavy economic crisis. So all of you, please make sure you have a plot of land and that you are growing your food. I'm not joking, all right? Make sure you've got a plot of land and you are growing your food. That's what Prabhupada kept shouting. He said that this economy is false. If land and a cow is what will give you food, right? What's the use of all your money in the bank which is virtual, right?
Banks only don't exist all of a sudden. The whole bank is gone, it's collapsed. Countries vanish. Countries are getting vanished, then what are you going to do? That's what even we were discussing the other day.
So
you don't see your money itself.
Yes.
What will you do?
Yes. No.
Virtually existing.
Yeah.
In the air it is.
No.
Transfer in the air. We don't see the hard cash.
Before it was paper, all right? What was the value of that paper? I had to sit in Bhagavatam class to understand what is a 100 rupee note. I had no idea.
Even if it is not virtual,
Right.
still it is valueless.
Yeah, it is just a promise.
It is just a
Right, in 100 rupee, in exchange of 100 paper, it's printed there, and it has to be, a specific valid paper because somebody can reproduce it, right? And you took it, you took it. So against that number that's stamped on it, you can get so many commodities in exchange, and then gradually, in that same number, you get less and less. So therefore, you have to keep on adding, It's false money. And Prabhupada spoke about it in first canto of Bhagavatam. And he said real wealth was gold, right? Gold, silk, the jewelries, the land, the cows, the food grains, the milk, right? That was real wealth. There's a whole story. Prabhupada went through the whole thing about gold, but it's, I think, only 1 or 2 centuries ago that, the gold has been captured. So you can't keep gold. What you are given in exchange is only money, is printing money. And now what happened? Right? So we don't know what's going to happen next. Huh? We really don't know we're going to watch now. We thought, we're so absorbed in coronavirus, right? Our eating, sleeping, and everything was only coronavirus. Now it's like past history. Now, war, and now we're hearing about, the economic collapse. We don't know what's going to happen next. So very risky. All right. So we are going to read the story of this poor King Puranjan and the warning about us what not to do. God, it's such a horrible section, this part of Bhagavatam.
Param Brahma, that was 10.12.
Oh.
12 and 13.
13 was Anuksva Musaya Sarve.
Okay, whatever, just look it up in Bhagavatam.
12 and 13.
13 together, so it was 12. 10.12.
All right. Anyway, wherever it is, we've heard what it means. Param Pavitram, right? The supreme. All right, so now this Kala Kanya is going to attack Puranjana, right? And then the next birth he becomes Puranjani. This King Puranjan becomes Puranjani next birth. We don't know what we were last birth.
But after so much also he gets a human birth.
Yeah, but not only that, he got married to a Mahabhagat. Yes.
Was initiated, celebrated.
Yes, he got human body, he became Puranjani, but he got association of a Mahabhagat and he goes back home, back to Kanha. Yeah, this is how Bhagavatam encourages everybody to follow the rules of Dharma. Yeah, of course, give the story of Ravana also.
The fan has a mind of its own.
Yeah, I guess maybe some connection, right? All right, so it's really hard to go through this section. This part is even worse than the previous one. The other one, it was quite interesting, to know the makeup of the body. Now what Puranjan does, how he lives his life, it's so horrible, right? We really don't want this type of life. This is just straight karmi life, basically.
Actually, this is everyone's life.
Yes, this is what's being described here.
This is Kaliyug life.
Karmi life. Not only Kali Yuga, but this is, I don't know which time King Prachipana Varihishat was not Kali Yuga, he was in some other Satyuga, right? Satyuga. Dhruva Maharaj descendant. Yeah. So, yes, so meaning that it can happen at any time. Any time we can just take a dip in the material world. That's why we are here. So it's not a question of time, but it's just of what you're doing. So that's why, and here, I mean the most important point here, because a group of women here. So meaning that if the woman is able to become intelligent, she doesn't have to go through that whole pitfall, right? And so it's not that women have no intelligence, but they have to use it. So you use it by studying Bhagavatam, right? Strengthen the mind by studying Bhagavatam. All right, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Very good. Yeah, we got prasad, your pera is waiting. Please, everybody. And let us offer pranam also. Before we were offering pranam on face, on Zoom, now let's do it physically.